Hey Bears fans, gather round because we've got a scenario that's been dominating every coffee shop, sports bar and Twitter timeline in Chicago circles, the quest for a game-changing edge rusher. And more specifically, the lingering question of whether the Bears will pull off a blockbuster trade for Cincinnati's Trey Hendrickson before the deadline. Picture this, a perimeter pass rusher who has terrorized opposing quarterbacks for 2 straight seasons, coming off back-to-back campaigns with 17.5 sacks apiece, a 4-time Pro Bowl selection, and freshly minted as a first-team All-Pro after leading the entire NFL in sacks. In any other context, you'd expect the Bears brass to be doing backflips, but here in Chicago, the plot thickens faster than a chilly Lake Michigan breeze. From the moment Trey Hendrickson broke onto the scene in Miami, scouts and executives took notice of his rare blend of speed, power, and relentless motor. He's not just a one-trick pony who feasts on tackles for loss. He's shown an uncanny ability to bend around the edge, dip under chips from tight ends, and explode past guards with counter moves that leave offensive linemen grasping at air. When the Bengals shipped him north after a breakout season, the league collectively sat up and took notice, and blessed their fandom with 2 straight seasons of double-digit sacks. His contract situation only adds fuel to the fire, entering the final year of his deal. Hendrickson is reportedly seeking the kind of payday that only perennial Pro Bowlers command, meaning Cincinnati's window to reach an extension is rapidly closing if they don't act soon or fail to agree on terms. The Bengals could be forced into a tough call, trade him within the division, or risk losing him for nothing next spring. For Bears general manager Ryan Poles, every offseason conversation has circled back to Hendrickson. Naturally, making a move for a player of his pedigree would require sacrificing draft capital, perhaps a mid-first and additional picks, and carving out a hefty cap number, which is no small feat given that Chicago already has Montez Sweat locked in on a near $100 million contract. Add to that the 3-year, $40-8 million extension just signed by Dayo Odeyingbo, and suddenly the thought exercise of pairing Sweat, Odeyingbo, and Hendrickson on the edges looks like a glorious highlight reel dream, but one difficult to reconcile on the ledger once all the numbers land. Yet if the Bears truly believe in the vision of third-year coach Luke Getsy and offensive architect Ben Johnson, whose system hinges on generating pressure to free up playmakers in the backfield, then this trade frenzy could very well be their most aggressive play yet. Meanwhile, another NFC North contender appears ready to swoop in and steal the headlines: the Green Bay Packers. While Chicago's brass ponders how many future draft picks to mortgage for a veteran pass rusher, Green Bay seems to be quietly calculating its own moves. After all, Rashan Gary did lead the Packers with 7.5 sacks last season, but aside from him, the depth chart reads more like an audition tape for unproven prospects. Devonte Wyatt chipped in 5 sacks, and youngsters like Kingsley and Agber, Brenton Cox, and Lucas Van Ness flash potential but have yet to solidify themselves as reliable weekly threats. For Matt LaFleur's defense, adding Hendrickson would instantly elevate their pass rush to an elite tier, pairing him with Gary to form a bookend duo that offensive coordinators would circle on their scouting reports with a mix of dread and respect. The narrative unfolding here is one of high stakes and shifting alliances. On one hand, you have a Bears front office that has shown a willingness to spend, but also a caution born from years of draft hand-developed strategies that led to wrenching rebuilds. On the other, you have a Packers organization that appears to be on the cusp of reloading its defense without sacrificing its future flexibility. If Cincinnati truly does prefer to trade Hendrickson outside of the conference to avoid strengthening an NFC foe, that only adds another layer of intrigue, because right now it feels like a toss-up which team will emerge victorious in these negotiations. Will Chicago roll the dice and risk their draft capital, or will they sit back and hope they can still compete this year without an All-Pro on the edge? Meanwhile, Green Bay could cut a deal as soon as the Bengals signal they're ready to listen, banking on cap space that outpaces both the Bears and Washington Commanders, of course. Fan reaction in Chicago has been a roller coaster of emotions. On social media, you'll find everything from hopeful declarations that Poles will pull the trigger to defeatist comments lamenting that we'll never get a big fish in local circles. Longtime season ticket holders have their own theories. Some insist that the front office has already had private conversations with the Bengals brass, while others argue that the sight of Hendrickson in a navy and orange uniform is purely wishful thinking. Meanwhile, the opposing locker rooms across the NFC North are no doubt watching closely. recognizing that whoever lands Hendrickson gains a competitive advantage. That could tilt the balance in divisional matchups that matter twice a year. As the league hurdles toward the trade deadline just a couple of months away, every practice report, every sideline sighting, and every cryptic comment from key decision makers will be scrutinized. And while Chicago's own off-season drama has been dominated by questions about the offensive line, the quarterback depth chart, and whether Justin Fields can take that next leap, the compelling subplot remains the same. Will the Bears secure Trey Hendrickson's pass rushing prowess? Or will the Packers swoop in and claim the star that could redefine the NFC North hierarchy? In a division where rivalries are as old as the league itself, winning this sweepstakes might just mean the difference between finishing third or hoisting the division crown. And the next time these teams meet at Soldier Field or Lambeau Field, every snap could hinge on which team corralled the all-pro edge rusher that everyone's been talking about. Meanwhile, as the calendar inches ever closer to the trade deadline, whispers in league circles are growing into full-blown rumors, with unnamed front office sources and beat writers all hinting at the same tantalizing possibility. Hendrickson could be on the move before the midpoint of the season. If that happens, the ripple effect will be felt far beyond Cincinnati's defensive playbook. For the Bears, landing Hendrickson would demand a delicate dance of roster management, salary cap gymnastics, and draft capital allocation. Chicago's front office would need to determine how much of their precious cap space they are willing to dedicate to a single player, even one as productive as Hendrickson. After already investing heavily in defensive talent over the past 2 years, they would also have to decide whether relinquishing a second-round pick or potentially a future first would align with the long-term blueprint laid out by general manager Ryan Poles on the field. 2. Integrating a double-digit sack artist mid-season is no small task. Even with the seamless communication that comes from veteran leadership, adding a player of Hendrickson's caliber requires adjustments to alignments, blitz packages, and coverage schemes. Opposing offenses would immediately game plan for the handoff, doubling Hendrickson with tight ends and running back chips, which in turn could free up teammates like Montez Sweat and Robert Quinn to exploit one-on-one matchups. From a coaching standpoint, defensive coordinator Alan Williams would be tasked with weaving Hendrickson's strengths into the existing framework, ensuring that gap discipline remains intact and that cornerbacks and safeties are not left overexposed. If the new scheme yields quick pressures and hurried throws beyond the X's and O's, the cultural impact of acquiring a player with Hendrickson's reputation cannot be overstated. Locker rooms thrive on momentum and confidence, and the mere arrival of an all-pro edge rusher can electrify a defensive unit. In past seasons, the Bears have shown glimpses of pass rush prowess, but consistency has been elusive. Bringing in a player who has produced at the highest level, who knows what it takes to sack elite quarterbacks on a weekly basis, could instill a belief that this team can finish drives, force punts, and win the turnover battle. And in a division as tightly contested as the NFC North, one forced fumble here or a strip sack, there could be the difference between a playoff berth and another offseason full of questions. Yet, as much as the Bears brass must weigh their own appetite for risk, Green Bay's front office is operating under a similar calculus, albeit with different resources and roster construction philosophies. The Packers, traditionally more conservative with their draft stock and cap commitments, have the luxury of cap room and future picks that could make a Hendrickson acquisition less painful on paper. If Green Bay chooses to leverage its flexibility, they may only need to surrender a mid-round pick and absorb a chunk of salary, a cost that could be offset by the increased value to their defense and the ticket sales generated by adding a marquee name to their roster. For a franchise that has prided itself on homegrown talent, this kind of splash move would signal a willingness to pivot from development to win-now mode. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy, drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. It's the kind of whisper that can set the NFL ablaze, a rumor so audacious it's almost unthinkable, yet too tantalizing to ignore. Sources close to the situation are buzzing with the sensational possibility Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills superstar quarterback, could be heading to the Windy City, with reports suggesting a 4-year deal with the Chicago Bears is on the cusp of being finalized. Imagine it, Allen, with his cannon arm and powerful running style, leading an offense that finally has the pieces around him to contend. The Bears, long searching for their franchise signal caller, would instantly become a legitimate threat in the NFC. This isn't just a ripple It's a potential tidal wave that could reshape the league's landscape, while details remain shrouded in secrecy. The sheer audacity of such a move suggests significant maneuvering behind the scenes. Could the Bills be preparing for a rebuild, or is this simply an elaborate smokescreen? The notion of Allen in navy and orange is enough to send shivers down the spines of opposing defensive coordinators. This remains a what-if for now, but the buzz is growing louder by the minute, hinting at a seismic shift that could leave the NFL world stunned. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.